Does the Bitcoin price action feel a little boring to you? Remember 2021? The wild swings, the 50% crashes in a week. So where did all that volatility go? Why isn't Bitcoin behaving like the chaotic asset we all used to know? The simple answer is this: the entire structure of the market has changed. The retail era, the time of gamblers and tourists, is over. We are now deep in the institutional era. See, the key difference is how these two groups behave. Retail investors, on average, get scared and panic sell during downturns. They buy the hype and sell the fear. But corporations and sovereign wealth funds, they do the opposite. They see dips as accumulation opportunities. They're not trying to flip for a quick profit. They're building a long-term position. Think of it like this: Bitcoin's journey is like gold's. In the 1970s, gold was volatile and speculative. Today, it's a stable, mature asset held in central bank vaults. That's the transition Bitcoin is making right now. It's no longer a proxy for a tech stock. It's becoming the base layer for modern finance. Now, let's get into the technical, but absolutely crucial reason for this shift. Something happened that changed the game for every CFO in the world: the new FASB Fair Value accounting rules. Before this, the accounting was a nightmare. If a company bought Bitcoin and the price dropped, they had to write it down as a loss, an impairment charge. But if the price went up, they couldn't report that gain on their balance sheet unless they sold it. It was all risk and no recognized reward, which scared almost every public company away. But now, in 2026, the world is different. Companies can now mark their Bitcoin holdings to the current market value, quarter over quarter. If Bitcoin's price goes up, their balance sheet instantly looks stronger. Their assets have increased. This single change unlocked the floodgates for S&P 500 companies. It transformed Bitcoin from a weird, risky speculative asset into a legitimate treasury management tool. A tool that could actually boost their quarterly reports and make them look better to investors. Suddenly, holding Bitcoin wasn't a liability. It was a strategic advantage. This accounting revolution happened at the perfect time, right as a massive macroeconomic problem was coming to a head: the sovereign debt crisis. Let's be honest, government debt around the world, especially in the US, is spiraling out of control. As a result, holding government bonds, the traditional safe asset for a corporate treasury, became incredibly unattractive once you factor in real inflation. The yields just couldn't keep up. This created what we call the melting ice cube problem. For a corporate treasurer, holding millions or billions in cash is like holding a giant ice cube in a warm room. Inflation and currency debasement are constantly melting it away, eroding its purchasing power year after year. They were trapped. They needed a place to store that value, an asset that wasn't someone else's liability. And that's where Bitcoin comes in, not as a currency, but as digital property. It's a scarce, finite asset with no counterparty risk. So, when you see companies like MicroStrategy and the many others that followed their lead buying Bitcoin, they're not speculating. They are performing a capital rotation strategy. They're intelligently selling dilutable assets, like their own company stock or corporate debt, to acquire an absolutely scarce digital property. They're trading something that can be printed infinitely for something that can't. This corporate buying spree created a fascinating game theory scenario on the world stage. Think of it like a prisoner's dilemma for nation-states. Once one major country, or even a block of countries, begins to publicly accumulate Bitcoin as a reserve asset, which we started to see in 2025, it forces every other country's hand. If your geopolitical rivals are hedging their currency and strengthening their balance sheets with a neutral, non-sovereign asset, you can't afford to be left holding only your own melting fiat currency. You have to follow suit or risk being left behind. This led to the concept of a strategic Bitcoin reserve, similar to the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in the United States. It's a nation's emergency store of a hard, globally recognized asset. And it's not just about buying it. Countries rich in energy, like those in the Middle East or parts of Africa, realized they could monetize their wasted or excess energy. By setting up Bitcoin mining operations, they could convert stranded natural gas or unused hydroelectric power directly into a pristine digital asset, anchoring the network's value to real-world, physical energy infrastructure. And all of this demand, from corporations and now from nation-states, is slamming headfirst into a brutal supply shock reality. Remember the 2024 halving? We're now 2 years past that event. The amount of new Bitcoin being created every day is tiny, a fraction of what it used to be. The math has become terrifyingly simple for anyone trying to acquire a large position. The daily demand from Bitcoin ETFs, combined with the accelerating demand from corporate treasuries, is now vastly greater than the daily mine supply. Where does the extra supply come from? It has to come from existing holders willing to sell. But when you look at the data, the amount of Bitcoin sitting on exchanges is at multi-year lows. The inventory is gone. The liquid, for sale supply has been drained. This means that the large over-the-counter or OTC deals that institutions use to make are becoming almost impossible to fill. There's simply not enough Bitcoin available for sale to satisfy the demand. The God candle everyone used to dream about isn't going to be driven by retail hype anymore. It's going to be the result of a catastrophic liquidity crunch. So where does that leave us? We've witnessed a fundamental transition. We moved from magic internet money to pristine global collateral. The narrative has completely changed. And here's the hard truth. The window to easily own one whole Bitcoin has likely closed for the average person forever. We are now firmly in the age of Satoshis, stacking small fractions of a whole. The game has changed from speculation to accumulation. So I have to ask you, are you still chasing the next meme coin? Or are you focused on building your own personal reserve? Let me know your strategy down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow for more.